Hello, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truth Channel. How's everybody doing this evening? I hope you're doing well. Well, tonight's subject, I'm sure the title caught you. A couple new words that don't exist there. But yeah, we're going to talk about the de-evolution of human intelligence. Okay? The lack of thought these days, you might say. So this should be an interesting night. I can't wait. Anyway, I need to change this. Okay. There we go. I got the message delay on, so we can't have anybody coming in and trying to create hate and discontent on the channel. But anyway, I tell you what, I've been waiting to do a live stream outside for a long time. Tell you what, I don't think the wind's been stopped blowing for, let's say, since the end of March. It's beautiful out tonight. This is, I love to have a night. Well, the next night I get like this, I already made my subject for the evening, but we're gonna do some paranormal stuff. If keeping the bugs off me, good way of doing it. But we're gonna talk about some paranormal stuff. So if you happen to be watching this video and you see something behind me, there's sometimes a lot of strange stuff that goes on in the direction behind me. So, anyway, I'm just saying I could see it too. But anyway, I appreciate people showing up. How are you doing? Martello Modifies. That's a different name. Like it though. But yeah, it's a beautiful evening out. Been waiting a long time for a night like this. Oh, we are 2 minutes in. Well, we'll start talking about the subject. We've got some people that showed up. Anyway, tonight we're talking about how education has changed over the years since I've been in school. And since I graduated in 1986, I guess I have a little bit to say about this because I've seen a few generations go through school since I went through school. Since we were all educated differently, before the Department of Education. But what's changed? Okay, when I went to school, my kids, they all went to school in between, I think, when did semester start? 2002. So, and then the last one graduated in 2019. So that's when my kids were in school, and I got to see how much it changed then. Okay, but when I was in school, and I tell my kids this, and when we watched Little House on the Prairie, right? How when we entered the classroom, I mean, you were respectful to the teacher. You were quiet. You taught. You let him teach. Nobody was talking in class while the teacher was talking and instructing. And when the teacher wasn't instructing, you usually had work to do. But anyway, it was just different. We had one thing too is we had 8 hours and 5 minutes of school every day. Now, and we didn't get off early on Fridays and all these holidays we have, and we didn't have spring break and stuff like that. We didn't have none of that stuff. We went to school. That was our job as a kid during the school year. Your job was to go to school and get educated. Okay? And I had teachers before the Department of Education that were educated before the Department of Education. And I guarantee that college curriculum that they had was a lot different than after the Department of Education took over. But the one thing about my teachers from kindergarten on up, their whole concern was doing their part to make sure that I was ready for the next step. So when I graduated school, I was ready to be an adult, live on our own. Anyway, so sorry, I got to remove them. That's why I put 60 second. Hey, I hope these trolls stay up. Put more comments down. I can erase them and stuff. And They add to my analytics by adding time to it and stuff. Whatever. The thing is, trolls subscribe to channels so they can troll them. Kind of talk about helping a channel out, but then again, we're dealing with liberal thinking. This is the education thing. That's why we're on this. Okay, another thing, when I went to school, there was no such thing as ADHD or whatever DH or whatever things bullshit they got now. It was called being a kid, and teachers took control of their classroom. I'll tell you one thing, when I went to school, like when I got in high school and stuff, and the teachers that were coming out of college after the Department of Education was created, so that would have been like in what, 83, 84, in my junior and senior year, we started getting newer teachers. Nobody respected them. Everybody respected the teachers that had been there forever, and they cared about them. I mean, I tell you what, I made my teachers earn every penny. But they made sure I got an education, no matter how much I fought them. And I'm very appreciative to them. But the one thing about the teachers I had, a lot of them in the 90s when Bill Clinton, they all quit. They didn't have no more to do with it. And they took on other careers and stuff. You're in your 50s and you got to do something else because you can't stand the way the school system is. And that was back in the 90s when all this stuff started. But, kids, when I was going to school, we had, especially when you got in high school, okay, you had to be on the honor roll to be in sports. The A or B honor roll. You had to be on the honor roll to be in sports, okay? So you're doing good in school. You do good sports. You have a job. Everybody had a job, or you lived on a farm. You obviously had stuff to do when you got home. We had responsibility. We were brought up to be adults. That's why when we were all 16 years old, 15, 16 years old, we were making plans on how we were going to get out of the house when we turned 18. Hell, I went in the Marine Corps boot camp to get out of the house. I bought high. Anyway, but all that's changed. I mean, when your teachers are quitting, the teachers that taught you, because they can't take it no more, something's changed. I'm so happy that I still got educated in the time I got educated. I mean, the 80s was a good decade to be alive. The country was at the citizens of this country, our education, everything was at the peak. Okay, people say, well, our education's better now. I don't think so. We may have more technology, but our education system isn't any better. Obviously, some people are getting educated. They want to make machines smarter. We're going to get into that with the AI. Intoxification. What do you think of that word? I like it. Obviously, YouTube's having a little problem. I think peak was 90s. Yeah, before Clinton took over. When Clinton took over, it all went downhill. When the first Bush talking about the New World Order, it's like every president's put in office to do his little job to turn us a little bit more into slaves and globalize the world. And they were doing it back then. Okay? But yeah, everything changed. That's when all the teachers that taught me quit, was in the 90s when Clinton took over. Because they said they don't let us be teachers. They're trying to tell us how to do our jobs when we've been doing it for 25, 30 years. And they were kicking out ranked number 1 in the world for education. That's the students that I was kicked out with. We were ranked number 1 in the world. Now we're ranked number 33. And the standards have dropped so much that, let's just say that the kids today aren't getting the education I got. I would say my 4th grade education is equal to a high school diploma these days. And my high school diploma is easy equal to a bachelor's degree in something at college. And then, my secondary education and stuff, just adds on. You don't have that these days. You don't have any critical thinking. But anyway, that's the system I was brought in, where they trained us, where they educated us to be adults, so we could, when we took over the reins of the country, we could ensure that we took care of the country in a good shape, so we wouldn't sit there and destroy it for the next generations. Well, that didn't work out too good. Obviously, there's people in the government class, civics class, that didn't listen to the Constitution like I did. But anyway, then we get to where Clinton takes it. We start the indoctrination. Okay, maybe not so bad with Clinton. That was bad. The government started messing with these older teachers that were doing just fine. That were in charge of teaching their class, and they were kicking out good students. And this is when they all of a sudden, they started building all these brand new schools. The best way to get better education is to sit there and throw more money at the schools. Okay? And then the kids were being affected by this indoctrination that they were starting to get. How do I know that? Can you say the school shootings started in the 90s when Clinton was in office? Yep. See how everything's tied together? But this is what happens when you don't start teaching critical thinking. When you don't start teaching you're responsible for your actions. When you don't teach, and they say it was teasing and stuff, these school shootings, but I think a lot of it has to do with, when they came out with all these new diseases that they had all these new pills for. Anyway, AI, all I need is my car and chew. Jesus is a cold bottle of Mountain Dew. Hey. When shit gets stupid, this is my vice, dude. I don't know what I'm going to do without my Mountain Dew. I love that one. That was good. That one is good. I like that. I love getting a smile off the chat. I tell you what, YouTube's really cut down on my channel a lot. This social media stuff, I'm going to sit there and keep plugging away on my channel to get the truth out. But there's some subjects they don't want you to talk about. And I'll tell you what, the Republicans and the Democrats are all in cahoots with the social media platforms. Because you sit there, The Guardian, say hi. Hey, how's it going? Glad to see you tonight. Hey, you want to be The Guardian, I see you. You want to be a moderator? You do next time, you can say yes, you want to be a moderator. I got to put it on a 60-second delay, because I don't want, and if you're a moderator, what you do is somebody makes a rude comment, you just click on that comment or the person's name that did it, it'll bring up the screen and you can delete the comment. But I got it on the 60-second delay. I got to do that so they can't sit there and put 20 comments in 10 seconds. That's all retarded. Like I say, because of the education system we're dealing with. When we went to school, we were taught to respect our elders, period. No matter who they were. The store owner, the teacher, your parents, your grandparents, the cops, the firemen, your boss. They don't have that no more. But anyway, now we'll get to when I had my kids in school, and I started seeing the difference in education when I go pick up my kids from the classroom. And like I say, they went to school from 2002. I had kids in school from 2002 to 2019 for 17 years. And when my girls were little in elementary and stuff, and I'd go pick them up, right? I see all the new gadgets. They only have chalkboards, and it's bad when you go into a classroom and you expect to see chalkboards. You don't even have chalkboards anymore. They have all these, what they have, these electronic stuff, right? And what do I see? I see the teacher talking and 3 or 4, maybe students paying attention to them, right? And then I see 600 conversations going on in the classroom where the kids aren't even paying attention to the teacher. Now I'm looking at this, say this ain't the classroom I kind of grew up in. Especially in elementary, they really had you on bridle there. But I'm not believing what I'm seeing. And then my kids are coming home and you're doing their homework with them, right? I'm doing math, okay, with my daughter, and we're doing division, and I'm trying to show her the way I was taught. And then she's talking about this guesstimation shit and all this. I said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, don't you know your addition and your subtraction, your times and multiplication tables? She goes, no, Dad, they don't teach that no more. See, this thing, if you can't do simple math, and I would say times tables up to 20s and stuff, square roots and stuff, if you can't do this in your head, you can't do advanced math. Like I say, how does a college professor these days teach a math class when you got somebody that comes in there that's got a third grade math education? And they're trying to take, I don't know, college physics or something. Because it's a requirement, right? But anyway, I'm seeing this in my class, their classes. And I'm listening to just doing their homework and how they struggle. They didn't even know how to read an analog clock. And this was in the 2000s. They weren't even teaching that no more. And then they got rid of teaching cursive. I mean, I'm sorry. Since when did I have more abilities as a kid than my own children, that my children don't have? The only thing is the higher ups didn't expect it out of them no more. Believe me, they expected us out of us. We could have 1,000 excuses why we didn't want to do something, like all kids do. But we didn't have a choice. And we were told all the time, nobody cares about your feelings. So I feel my kids got robbed of an education that I got. And then you keep throwing money at the schools and my kid, and then all of this sexual crap. I mean, my daughters had to go to high school with some boy that thought he was a girl who would wear mini skirts and all this other shit. You weren't allowed to say anything to him. Nope. Not allowed to tease him. He's the normal one. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, don't worry. Because you got to sit there and make sure you don't hurt his feelings. I don't believe people should be bullied, but it sure would be nice to bring back teasing. Okay, because that when kids got teased because they were acting a little goofy, that corrected them. At least corrected them to the point where they kept it in their closet. They're bringing cursive back in Georgia elementary schools. Good. I mean, it would be nice if our children could read the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. That would probably be a good thing. I mean, like I say, in third grade, we learn cursive and how we start learning letter by letter, right? And then on our first spelling test where we had to write a word in cursive. I still remember what that word was. You remember we had 10 spelling words every week? The first word I had to write in cursive on a spelling test, because they do one word in it, but anyway, was city. Who remembers that type of shit? I learned cursive good. I mean, it's just, but see, then again, what do we use it for? Because it made writing faster. And then you learn shorthand and it even makes it even faster. But cursive made writing stuff out faster. And all I know is my penmanship from when I was in high school and stuff has gotten terrible. I mean, Thomas Jefferson penned the Declaration of Independence. Hand wrote it, okay? My God. I mean, a computer couldn't do that good a job these days. But that was how people were back then. Everything was about perfection. You couldn't do things half-assed. I mean, everything was about survival, making an impression, making sure that your word was worth something. If you sat there and would have sent out the Declaration of Independence that looked like it was written by a 5-year-old, nobody would have took it seriously. Anyway, but the schools started going to all this weird cultural change, pushing this cultural change stuff, where schools became indoctrination centers. They were no longer getting educated. They were being told how to think. You know, facts can be argued. You don't need facts to back up your argument. You just need to have a lot of emotion for it, right? I'm so sick and tired of dealing with people with emotion that is tie everything to emotion. I wasn't allowed to be that way as a kid. Nobody cared. They started using different teaching methods too. Yeah, all this different teaching methods. The thing is, they stopped teaching. And then they wanted to put all these kids on medication. I dealt with this with my oldest daughter, fighting with the teachers all the time. Like, the teachers decided, hey, we're having problems with your kid. They need to get on ADHD medicine. I'm like, screw you. Because with my oldest daughter, she was one that if she got over on you, you were screwed. And I told every teacher that she had, don't let her get over on you. My mom never had a problem with her. I never had a problem with her. My mom said she was the best behaved child I had. Putting all these kids on drugs so they can sit there and think the same way. And then and then some of them, you've seen them, that were on this Ritalin and stuff. And all of a sudden they can't function as adults now. And now they're on the government titty. I think the pharmaceutical company should have to pay for that. I really do. But they just start screwing our kids up. But see, I think that was a plan of the whole Department of Education. They want to, that commercial back in the 70s. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and they're showing minorities and stuff. Showing minorities so they could, they need to be able to go to college. Boy, look at all the greatness that's come out of college in the last 50 years. Our kids were being taught by hippies. People that believe in Cloward and Piven. Conquer and divide, divide and conquer. Just filling their brains full of mush, to where you got kids on campuses now where you ask them if a man can get pregnant and they won't answer it because they say it's too controversial. Anyway, I tell you what, Mark Dice, if you don't know his channel, he goes out to these colleges and asks these kids these questions and stuff. And plus on the street and stuff. And you can just see the intelligence level dropping by the minute. Expensive higher ed, left with insane debt, professor brainwashed. Yeah, this is another thing we do, right? What parents or country in their right mind? Because we were taught not everybody's meant for college. That's what we were taught when we were kids. But you take all these kids, send them to college, and they're 6 figures in debt at 21, 22 years old. Can you imagine you being even 5 figures in debt at 21, graduating college? It's insanity. But these colleges are getting all this money and able to build great stadiums and all this other shit. And they're going to keep passing you as long as you keep giving them money. Remember that scandal where parents were paying these Ivy League colleges to pass their kids? My brother's watching you, Thomas. Turbino. My little brother's watching. Anyway, but, they got cheated out of an education. I am pissed at the goddamn Department of Education that my daughters didn't get the education I got. And my grandkids aren't even getting the education they got. My grandson's in the room, has litter boxes in his classroom because he's got 2 kids that think they're furries. How do you teach health class if you got transgenders and kids that think they're animals in your classroom? How do you teach health class? I'm just real curious about that. That ought to be an interesting class if you can't offend anybody. Hey, Amanda, how are you doing tonight? Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Sorry, I've been going off. This is one live stream I knew it was going to be small because just the title alone, but it's the truth. And then I came up with some new terms. Okay, and then like I say, the generation of my kids, the indoctrination stage, okay? Remember when Barack Obama got elected president and we got to see videos of first graders and stuff singing praise to Barack Obama? What the hell do you call that? Now, I'm not saying the Republicans are any better. Like I say, I'm a constitutional conservative. So obviously I don't like either of the parties. Once they can realize we're living in a constitutional republic, once I see our politicians say that, and they learn how to sit there and balance a budget like all of us have to in our households, like I say, I'm so tired of the Congress passing a bill, and then the government has to loosen its belt because it gorged, and then we all got to tighten our belt because we got to pay for it. It's getting to be a bunch of shit. But anyway, we go from the indoctrination that lasted, I would say, it probably started during the Bush years. It started before then, because remember, when they came out with the Department of Education, first they had to educate the teachers, right? That went into the schools, and they kept, it's not like, boom, they hit with the curriculum they got now, gradually and gradually. We've been dealing with the Department of Education for 46 years now, and they're doing a good job. Anyway, let me see if I can get a little bit more light on this subject. I don't know. I'm outside. I may have to cut it short today. It's cloudy. I just want to do this live stream outside because it's been so long since I've had a night where the wind wasn't blowing so bad I couldn't do it out here. That's like the 4 to 6 teenagers get busted. I can't read that. Anyway. Sorry, Amanda. Well, anyway, now let's talk about what's going on now. The AI intoxification, the AI intoxification. What these kids are getting their dopamine fix on and stuff. And I guess what they called I think the new kids are called the alpha generation. Gotta watch the video on this, can't remember. But it was a video of these teachers that were dealing with, they were quitting because they were saying 4th grade on down, these kids can't comprehend. They have no attention span whatsoever. The teacher can see some and the kid can stare straight at them and ask them what about the lesson afterwards and not know nothing because their minds are in the technology. I mean, maybe I should have. Anyway, I called it AI because they want AI to take over. But the teachers can't do nothing with these kids, and they're rude and they're disrespectful. But they can't be taught, is what they're saying. They're so attached to the screen time, their dopamine from that nothing else matters to them. Now, I remember an episode. Anybody watch Star Trek: The Next Generation? That episode where I think it was Will Riker or whatever, or no, yeah, it was number 1, Will Riker. He brought that game back, and they all put it in, and they all got addicted to that game. Nothing else mattered except the dopamine they got from that game, the thrill they got from that game. That's what's happening. Our kids are forgetting what are supposed to interest human beings. Like I always say, the human being is the human Homo sapien is breaking into two species because of the mental condition. And what's ever bringing it on? Liberalism or the pharmaceuticals and all their, I don't know. But something is changing big time in human behavior. And then you're dealing with aggression. These people aren't, we were taught in school and at home to control our emotions, to discipline our emotions. These kids aren't taught that. I mean, oh my God, you get microaggression. Somebody says something you don't agree with or don't like, and you have a right to sit there and hurt them. Why do you think Carmelo Anthony did what he did? Because he thought he was justified. Because that's what he's been taught. And that would go with this generation. I mean, when you got teachers that just a couple years into teaching, I mean, these teachers are saying teaching is not a career that you retire at no more. It's something you do for a while and you get out. Not like the teachers I had that they got out of college, they taught in the same school, lived in the same town and everything. You had kids in your class that had they were teachers. Okay, and when the kids had their parents were teaching the class, the kids had to be respectful and call them by their ma'am or their Mrs. and Mr. or whatever in their last name. They weren't allowed to say mom or dad. But everything was local too. It was a small town. I mean, I still was in school when high schools had bonfires during homecoming. Okay. Yeah, we still had that. Kids don't know what fun is today. Okay. I'm glad I grew up at a time where I didn't sit there and have my face stuck in a phone all the time thinking that was a fun time. I was outside enjoying this stuff like that. Hey, guess what? You want to see the horses? There they are. Yeah, I'm out in their pasture. They got the whole grove back here. So, I love my horses. If you ever watch any of my shows, you see that. I tell you what, the sunrise I woke up to this morning was incredible. And I had to film it. I got up to let the dogs out. Holy cow. I ran outside and got that on video right away. That may be a short you want to check out. I don't know if you've ever seen a sunrise like that before, but that was something else. That's the nice thing about living out here where you can see forever. But it lit up the sky and yellow and orange and purple and the whole sky up to the top. That's the videos I get out here. That's the comfort I feel. But anyway, okay. AI indoctrination, intoxification. AI intoxification. Spread that term, everybody, because that's what we're dealing with now. That's the de-evolution of our human intelligence, what it's come to now. Where we want AI to do the thinking for us. See, this is worse than indoctrination. Because we're not even going to teach, we're not even going to indoctrinate kids no more. I don't know what they're going to do in school anymore, but I mean, teach them to be lazy, teach them to hate anything with freedom, get them to trust machines and computers over human beings. I mean, they're already attached to the FaceTime where teachers are quitting, saying they can't be taught. See, I hope the human race realizes that we're going to lose our position on top of the totem pole, okay? And we're just bringing it on like we don't even care. I mean, who in the right mind wants to make a machine smarter than a human being? Why do we need machines and AI and everything to do everything for us? I mean, the lazier we become, the faster, human beings are going to make themselves extinct just by becoming so lazy. I mean, somebody being born today has to be able to take care of themselves in 80 years. Do you see that happening? Seems like the technology is separating us from each other, not good for humanity. No. And I tell you what, Sunday I'm going to do a morning live stream. I like Paul Harvey. And Paul Harvey's got a letter from God. And even if you don't believe in God, it's a good thing to listen to because it talks about other things like that. Okay? But if you don't believe in God, it may be an interesting way of looking at him to where you might start believing in him. But I'm going to do that Sunday morning. And then, anyway, just something good. I'm trying, like I say, we got a lot of problems to fix. And we fix those problems, we're going to have adult children to educate. After World War II, after Nazi Germany had indoctrinated all those children, after World War II, when education became compulsory, they got Germany back together enough where they could open schools and stuff, you had 20-year-olds in elementary because they didn't learn nothing. I mean, I'm sorry. What do you think a college degree on the Jewish question was worth in Nazi Germany after World War II? Probably not too much. Just like a liberal political degree isn't going to be worth much after we take our country back. People that go to college to learn about politics. Everything's about politics. Get out of bed, it's about politics. Everything's about politics. Because the government, why is everything about politics? Because the government wants to be in every aspect of our lives. That's why everything's about politics. Simple enough? Anyway, hey Guardian, I'm going to make you a moderator. Come on, phone. There we go. There you go, the Guardian. You are now a moderator. You need a few of them. I tell you what, I hate having to put it on that 60-second delay, but you've been here, dealing with Joey and stuff, and you see it got rid of them. I mean, I need babysitters on my channel. I appreciate you being here, but why do we have to deal with these kids that didn't get an education, and now we're dealing with them as adult children, and they think they're still in elementary or junior high, and then they've never been told they were wrong. Okay, and so you're dealing with people that think they're talking so smart, and they don't know nothing about history. Okay, except what the professor told them. I'm so sick and tired of hearing that our founding fathers were racist. What rich guy's going to put in today's world is going to put their life, fortune, and their family, everything on the line to give the poor man a chance at becoming somebody? Which one? I mean, Trump, I don't see Trump doing it. No Epstein list, right? Anyway, that's the easiest way when all those old people are gone, so they probably got another 20, 30 years, because eventually then, we won't get the medical treatment we get, so we'll just die earlier, right? So they can have all these indoctrinated kids and these AI intoxification kids, and God knows what the next generation is going to be. To sit there. Who would want to be in charge of a kingdom full of idiots, morons, and people that can't think? Who would want to be in charge of that country? How is that country ever going to be prosperous? I mean, I think a country's leader, if he wants to be the greatest leader of that country ever, it's not by going to war. It's by making it the most prosperous, free, and independent country. And when I say independent, self-sufficient with its own natural resources. And that would make him the greatest leader ever. We don't have that. No, I guess great leaders think that way. They'd rather spend the money on, $1 trillion on war, over $1 trillion for people to sit on their ass, and whatever other social programs and retarded shit they could come up with. The thing is, the short I made is to be a thinking person, you have to be educated. You have to have an education. If somebody does your thinking for you, you've been indoctrinated. When AI intoxication comes, or I said, now they want AI to do the thinking, I don't know what you'd call that, but that's even worse. So I call it AI intoxication. That's what it is. These kids totally get eaten up. I mean, I like to say I can tell the difference between AI and real stuff. And I've had people on my Jesus bless you, maid. I'm going to the bed. But there's so much to fix. These kids haven't been challenged at all. We haven't. To become an adult, it's not an easy job becoming an adult, and it's not an easy job making a kid doing what it takes to make a kid an adult. It's hard work. That's called being a parent. And the tradition of being a good parent has gone on and on and on for generations. But now we've had so much government control in the household and the schools. I mean, like I say, we got correlations to Nazi Germany big time. What are they doing? They're taking over the young minds. They're taking over the young minds to take over the country. They just realize, hey, we ain't going to go to war and destroy our country with war. Which, well, technically we're not at war. We're just paying for all the wars. Okay? But, once they get rid of us older people, I'm Gen X. What a great time to grow up. That's all I got to say. I remember seeing the hippies on the street and stuff. I remember seeing the Apollo missions shoot off into space. I always loved watching that stuff. Remember watching Saturday morning cartoons with Scooby-Doo and Speed Buggy. And the Jetsons and the Flintstones. No, the Flintstones, that was a night. I think that was a night cartoon. That was the first prime time cartoon, I think the Flintstones was. All I know is we were watching it as a kid. I don't remember what time it was. That must mean my mom must have watched it. So anyway, early versions of The Simpsons, right? But that turned into Saturday morning cartoons. I mean, Land of the Lost, right? But we were kids that still had a lot of fun, and we still had a lot of responsibility. And we were brought up to become productive adults. No matter how much we fought our parents, they were going to turn us into productive adults. I enjoyed my mom cartoons. Oh, I tell you what. I'll be honest with you. I go to YouTube on Saturday mornings, and that's what I watch. This is what happens when you get older and you're seeing the world fall apart on you. It's the only way to escape for a couple hours. I'll take the simple life without technology we had when I was a kid any day over the shit we got now. Saturday morning, Sunday church. Yep, Sunday church. Every Sunday. And with church, 7th and 8th grade, I don't know if this was the same for you, but I came from a small town. We had the Lutheran church where I went to, the Catholic school. They didn't come over to the public school till 9th grade. And then you had the Methodist church and the Zion church and St. John's Lutheran. Anyway, in 7th and 8th grade, on Wednesday mornings, first hour of school, we didn't go to school. We got dropped off at the church. And we went to confirmation class for that first hour. And then we walked back to the school. I don't even know if that would be legal these days. And you got confirmed. You know, sermon notes during confirmation class. Remember that? Having to sit there and take sermon notes? Oh yeah, let's make sure the minister knew you sat through the sermon. See? Responsibilities in our spiritual life. What do we got now? I mean, the most heathen, the most incredible, crazy shit, that demented, crazy shit that can happen. People just don't have a problem doing it. Anyway, I'm going to get rolling here. I went on enough. I got the message though through. Human intelligence is de-evolving to where we're going to become like the goddamn things in fucking the time machine. The first time machine movie, where those people that lived underground, brain dead or whatever, or the pharmaceutical companies are just going to turn us into the Walking Dead. Of course, I ain't. I don't even go to the doctor no more. I'm almost fucking afraid they're going to try to slam a needle at me the second I go through the door. Plus, I'm sorry. Like I say, when I grew up, we had real doctors. You got sick, and the doctors weren't at the hospital. They had offices downtown. We had 3 doctors in our town. And my mom took me to the doctor, and you never went to the doctor if you weren't sick. And you went to the doctor, and he examined you, and you had to get pills for a week or 10 days. And my mom wrote a check to the doctor and gave it to the nurse to pay for it before we left. Boy, wouldn't it be nice if they brought that back? And, you know, that's another thing about the medical field, right? People complain about the cost of the doctor. Well, no shit, you're keeping the insurance company and the medical field in business instead of just the medical field. Now it's 1 pill daily. All this other shit. You have to go to the doctor once a month, get checked out for this, checked out for that. Are people living any longer? But the pharmaceutical companies are getting a lot richer. All I know is the human race. You watch all these commercials on TV. You got this sickness, your big toe hurts, you could have this or whatever. The human being has become the most weakest thing in the environment, I would say. But I'll trust my immune system. It's worked pretty good for me. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I'm going to go. Obviously, YouTube's really upset with me. I tell you what, I can't help it. There's so much going on and so much to talk about. And then when I sit, you know, I've had videos before that should have had 1 million views. I mean, that one where I got both ends, saw a full rainbow. And I got both ends. Who sees the end of one rainbow, which I saw? Actually, and then I look, and then the other end of the rainbow, I got video of it. Both ends of the rainbow, same rainbow. Who the hell gets videos of that? That's for these people. That's AI generated. That's AI generated. No. Anyway, it's getting pretty dark out. It's hard to see me anyway. But I appreciate everybody being here. And tomorrow night we'll be back. And we'll see what happens in the next 24 hours. I don't know what the subject's going to be about. So a lot can happen on a Friday in today's world. Anyway, everybody have a great night. This is Tom with Hidden Truths. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.